into a recess designed for the purpose and dashed away toward the city. Hilton stared slack-jawed at Sandra. She stared back. "Do you make anything of that, Jarve?" "Nothing. They're taking pure uranexite and concentrating, or converting, it 1,000 to 1. I hope we'll be able to do something about it." "I hope so too, Chief. And I'm sure we will." "Well, that's enough for now. You may take us up now, Captain Sawtelle. And Sandy, will you please call all department heads and their assistants into the conference room?" At the head of the long conference table, Hilton studied his 14 department heads, all husky young men, and their assistants, all surprisingly attractive and well-built young women. Bud Carroll and Sylvia Bannister of Sociology sat together. He was almost as big as Carnes. She was a green-eyed redhead whose 5'10" and 150 would have looked big except for the arrangement thereof. There were Bernadine and Hermon van der Moen, the leggy, breasty, platinum blonde twins, both of whom were Cowper medalists in physics. There was Ethane de Vaux, the mathematical wizard, and Rebecca Eisenstein, the black-haired, flashing-eyed, ex-infant prodigy theoretical astronomer. There was Beverly Bell, who made mathematically impossible chemical synthesis, who swam channels for days on end and computed planetary orbits in her sleekly coppered head. "First we'll have a get-together," Hilton said. "Nothing recorded, just to get acquainted. You all know that our 14 departments cover science from astronomy to zoology." He paused. Again his eyes swept the group. Stella Wing, who would have been a grand opera star except for her drive to know everything about language. Theodora Teddy Blake, who would prove gleefully that she was the world's best model, but was in fact the most brilliantly promising theoretician who had ever lived. "No other force like this has ever been assembled," Hilton went on, "in more ways than one. Sawtelle wanted Jeffers to head this group, instead of me. Everybody thought he would head it." "And Hilton wanted Eggleston and got me," Sandra said. "That's right. And quite a few of you didn't want to come at all, but were told by the board to come or else." The group stirred. Eyes met eyes, and there were smiles. "I myself think Jeffers should have had the job. I've never handled anything half this big, and I'll need a lot of help. But I'm stuck with it, and you're all stuck with me, so we'll all take it and like it. You've noticed, of course, the accent on you. The Navy crew is normal, except for the commanders being unusually young. But we aren't. None of us is 30 yet, and none of us has ever been married. You fellows look like a team of professional athletes, and you girls, well, if I didn't know better, I'd say the board had screened you for the front row of the course, instead of for a top bracket brain game. How they found so many of you, I'll never know." "Virile men and nupal women," Ethane de Vaux leered enthusiastically. "Viva the board!" Nuba, Bravo, Tiny, Quail, Delicatesse de Nuts. 3 rousing cheers for the board. "Keep still, you nitwits. Let me ask a question." This came from one of the twins. "Before you give us the deduction, Jarvis, or will it be an intuition, or an induction, or an inducement?" the other twin suggested helpfully. "Not that you would need very much of that." "You keep still too, Minnie. I'm asking Sir Moderator if I can give my deduction first." "Sure, Bernadine, go ahead." "They figured we're going to get completely lost. Then we'll jettison the Navy, hunt up a planet of our own, and start a race to end all human races. Or would you call this a seduction instead of a deduction?" This produced a storm of whistles and cheers and jeers that it took several seconds to quell. "But seriously, Jarvis, Bernadine went on. "We've all been wondering, and it doesn't make sense. Have you any idea at all of what the board actually did have in mind?" "I believe that the board selected for mental, not physical qualities, for the ability to handle anything unexpected or unusual that comes up, no matter what it is." "You think it wasn't double-barreled?" asked Kincaid, the psychologist. He smiled quizzically. "That all this vitality, nubility, and glamour is pure coincidence?" "No," Hilton said, with an almost imperceptible flick of an eyelid. "Coincidence is as meaningless as paradox. I think they found out that, barring freaks, the best minds are in the best bodies." "Could be. The idea has been propounded before." "Now let's get to work." Hilton flipped the switch of the recorder. "Starting with you, Sandy, each of you give a 2-minute boil down. What you found and what you think." Something over an hour later, the meeting adjourned and Hilton and Sandra strolled toward the control room. "I don't know whether you convinced Alexander Q. Kincaid or not, but you didn't quite convince me," Sandra said. "Nor him either." "Oh?" Sandra's eyebrows. "No, he grabbed the out I offered him. I didn't fool Teddy Blake or Temple Bells either. You four are all, though, I think." "Temple? You think she's so smart?" "I don't think so, no. Don't fool yourself, chick. Temple Bells looks and acts sweet and innocent and virginal. Maybe, probably she is. But she isn't showing a fraction of the stuff she's really got. She's heavy artillery, Sandy, and I mean heavy." "I think you're slightly nuts there. But do you really believe that the board was playing Cupid?" "Not trying, but doing. Cold-bloodedly and efficiently, yes." "But it wouldn't work. We aren't going to get lost." "We won't need to. Propinquity will do the work." "Pooey. You and me, for instance." She stopped, put both hands on her hips, and glared. "Why, I wouldn't marry you if you—" "I'll tell the cockeyed world you won't," Hilton broke in. "Me marry a damn female Ph.D.? Uh-uh. Mine will be a cuddly little brunette that thinks a slipstick is some kind of lipstick and that an isotope's something good to eat." "One like that copy of Murchison's Dark Lady that you keep under the glass on your desk?" she sneered. "Exactly." He started to continue the battle, then shut himself off. "But listen, Sandy, why should we get into a fight because we don't want to marry each other? You're doing a swell job. I admire you tremendously for it, and I like to work with you." "You've got a point there, Jarve, at that. And I'm one of the few who know what kind of a job you're doing. So I'll relax." She flashed him a gammon grin, and they went on into the control room. It was too late in the day then to do any more exploring, but the next morning early, the Perseus lined out for the city of the humanoids. Tuya turned toward her fellows, her eyes filled with a happily triumphant light, and her thought a lilting song. "I have been telling you from the first touch that it was the Masters. It is the Masters. The Masters are returning to us Omans and their own home world." "Captain Sawtelle," Hilton said, "please land in the cradle below." "Land?" Sawtelle stormed. "On a planet like that? Not by—" He broke off and stared. For now on that cradle there flamed out in screaming red the Perseus' own Navy-coded landing symbols. "Your protest is recorded," Hilton said. "Now, sir, land." Fuming, Sawtelle landed. Sandra looked pointedly at Hilton. "First contact is my dish, you know." "Not that I like it, but it is." He turned to a burly youth with sun-bleached, crew-cut hair. "Still safe, Frank?" "Still abnormally low. Surprising no end. since all the rest of the planet is hotter than the